Hello and welcome to this episode of Community Connections, airing right here on OROMIA11. Today we are talking first-time home ownership 101 to be exact. Today I have a realtor and coach here to provide you with some very necessary information to help along your journey or to get you started. You will want to either watch this episode a couple times or write down a few notes to help you start to navigate your journey to first-time home ownership. This is going to be an episode you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. Quilandra Hudgens, realtor and coach with Libertas Real Estate. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, let us know, how long have you been in the real estate business?
Wow. I've been in a real estate business for a number of years. Probably I can say since 2007. And now all of that has not been me being a real estate agent, but I've definitely I've been in spaces of notary. I've worked with other real estate teams where I was doing admin. So I've had my feet in it for quite a while now.
Now, let me know kind of what got you interested in the field of real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, one of the things that I think that matters is access. And a while ago, my breaking point where we were going through the real estate crisis, and one of the things that I noticed is that we didn't have a lot of representation in the area of real estate. And I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be a part of it more. I wanted to make sure that I had access to it, and via through the education, via through the professional experience, I wanted to make sure that I was able for me and my children to be able to possibly own our home one day. And so that's where I started just getting connected with people who knew how to move through real estate and the importance of it.
Now, today we're talking home ownership. And usually when you say this to people, they kind of take aback because they're looking like this can be such a daunting process. And hopefully through today's conversation, we can start to eliminate some of the fear around that process. Now, for many, home ownership has a daunting process or can be a daunting process. And so hopefully through this conversation, we're able to eliminate a little bit of that fear or altogether for people that want to begin their home ownership process. Talk to me about how many first-time home buyers have you represented this year?
On average, our team represented about 2 to 5 first-time home buyers. Again, those are a mix of first-time home buyers and also first-time investors.
Okay. Now, you referred to your team earlier, so we want to make sure that we include them when we are referencing all the different process, but also when you are talking about your team, you are talking about the comfort group, correct?
Yes, yes.
Now,
TKG.
go ahead.
Yep, TKG, the comfort group. Yes.
Okay. Now, talk to me about what is your preferred strategy as you guys navigate first-time home buyers?
Yeah, definitely. So it's important to have a conversation with the potential home buyer, really assessing how serious they are and how committed they are. So during this time, we would talk through any of their past experiences with buying or selling. And so that doesn't have to be their own personal past experience, but it could be an experience with a family member. So what do they know about it? What have they learned from it? Why they are buying? Why they are buying? What's their motivation for wanting to buy? And again, that commitment to the process will be key. Secondly, we also have them to assess their credit readiness. Look at their overall debt. Is there any debt? Look at their household income, making sure that they understand what income is coming in and what expenses are going out of the house every month or monthly. We talk through managing their expectations of the process. We talk about how much house they would like to buy. and then also talking through their needs versus their wants.
Now, can you describe your approach to educating new buyers about the different stages of home ownership?
This is where our team prides on having opportunities like first time homebuyer events. We also do buyer consultations. This is going to be key. During this time, we provide them with an easy to understand guide that will detail all steps of the home buying process. This guide also includes real estate terminology and the other stages of the process of the title companies and insurance, just the whole gamut of how the home buying journey works.
Now, how do you stay up to date on homeownership programs and/or incentives to help buyers with the process?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the ways we do this is by teaming up with lenders. We are constantly in communication with the lender, so we are able to ask the questions and then actually help the home buyer to understand. We also encourage them to talk to the lender. But for myself, one of the ways that I stay updated is through constant research, constant uh, constantly asking questions so that I can have an idea of what is out here and what could possibly be offered to the first time home buyer.
I think people really look at this process and think to themselves, I got to come up with money. I have to sign some documents. I got to find a location, but they never really start to understand all of the programs that are available locally and nationally for them. How do you stay abreast of some of that, but also how do you start to disseminate some of that information when people don't necessarily know terms?
So that's a great question. So just by me staying up to date again through communication with the different lenders who are well knowledgeable and or well versed in those areas, and again by me doing the research in our specific area. So depending on the area that the client lives in or that the client may possibly want to buy in, it will be necessary for myself or any other agent to look in those cities, look in those counties to see what first-time home buyer opportunities are out there for the home buyer to access.
Now, we've talked a bit about experience and approach. I just want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about understanding the buyer's needs. What questions do you ask a first time home buyer to fully understand their needs or priorities in buying a home?
Absolutely. So normally, you want to sit down with the buyer and you want to get to know them. You want to hear their story. You want to hear the why and behind they're doing what they're doing, the choices that they're making for them or their family, right? So some of the questions that I ask include, what is your ideal timeline for purchasing a home? What type of home are you looking for? Are you looking for a single family, a condo, a townhome? For some places that have places like Minnesota, are you looking for a duplex? Do you want to be a landlord, owner slash landlord? What features are non-negotiable versus just nice to have? Here in Arizona, we have pools. A lot of people have pools. Is that a negotiable? Are you okay when not having a pool? Do you have a preferred location or specific neighborhoods in mind? Some people want to stay close to their children's school. With that, are you willing to, maybe switch districts or things to consider? We really ask them to consider what their need is versus what their want is. We ask them, are they open to homes that may need renovations or updates? Many want to walk in to turnkey style homes where there's nothing that needs to be done. They just move in. Other people are absolutely okay with small renovations or projects. And so they'll think about that and consider that. Again, also talking about what is that long-term goal with this home? Is this a starter home versus a forever home? Is this could this potentially lead to an investment property? So really just sitting down with them and listening, asking the questions, and really listening to understand the client.
Talk to me about some of the ways you help people assess a realistic budget, from a down payment to uh, monthly payments on their mortgage and things of that nature.
Yeah. So setting a realistic budget is definitely going to be key in the home buying process, and understanding what you can afford, what's comfortable. We don't want you to be house rich, but then bank poor. And so we will want a buyer to assess their monthly affordability, and this could be done by factoring in the mortgage and the principal, the mortgage payment, which includes the principal and the interest. We let them know that property taxes and insurance is something that they will have to pay. Um, HOA fees, if that is applicable. And then, of course, the utilities and the maintenance costs. And so, what I do, my role is definitely to have that conversation with them, but then also, um, I connect the buyers with trusted lenders to understand the payment requirements and the affordability, the payment requirements and first time available. I'm sorry, I need to go back. Sorry,
Okay.
that was going so well. Yeah, so during this process, again, I connect buyers with the trusted lenders to understand down payment requirements and available first-time home buyer programs. We also review the pre-approval amounts versus their comfort level. Just because a lender approves a high amount does not mean but that's right for them within their budget.
I think that's so important because it is wonderful to be able to attain a home, but you want to be able to also maintain the home long term. You're going to have to provide furniture, groceries. You're going to have to be able to live in said home. Who wants to move in to have to move out?
Absolutely. And then keeping in mind that everything won't be perfect. That house looks, oh my God, amazing when you're doing the walkthroughs. And then when you get in there and you're actually sitting in there, you're like, oh, this may need to be done, or I can fix this, or let's repair this sooner than later. So we just want to keep those things in mind.
So, talk to me about how do you assess a first time buyer's financial readiness to purchase a home?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I always encourage the buyer to do is take a look at their credit score. And together, them and myself, we can discuss potential improvements if needed. Also, if they need to connect with the lender to talk through what are some things that they should be paying off immediately, what are some things that they can work on. We also want to talk about, their savings, what's in their savings for down payment and closing costs. If anything, explore assistance programs if that's applicable. We want to talk about their debt to income ratio, their DTI, and how it affects mortgage approval. Again, you mentioned earlier, it's one thing to get in a home, it's another thing to actually maintain the home and be comfortable with the amount that you may be paying out monthly. And so just because you're approved at a higher loan amount does not necessarily mean that you should go out and purchase a home of that set amount. We also want to talk through what does the emergency fund look like that they have set up, if any. So ensuring that an emergency fund is in place for any unexpected home ownership cost.
You just spoke about the emergency fund. Can you talk about how important that is to have?
Yeah, absolutely, Anna. I believe that the emergency fund is crucial, not only for home buyers, but for any adult. But since we're specifically talking about for home buyers and homeowners, uh, having an emergency fund could let lenders see that you have a reserve in case of any unexpected expenses. It also covers unexpected costs even with careful planning, we understand that there are going to be there may be additional closing costs, additional moving costs, or repairs before move-in. These things can pop up, and you want to be prepared. And again, for anybody, it can protect you from financial stress. Even with home buying, it can be unpredictable. Many of us are aware of that. And that's why you have our support to help walk you through that. However, having that extra savings prevents financial strain. If something happens, whether it be a job change, medical expense, and then, of course, right after the home buying process, again, we talked about earlier that there may be repairs and maintenance that comes up, or even if you wanted to do something a bit sooner than expected, remembering that you have property taxes and insurance, and they sometimes can change. But more importantly, you want a cushion for life's changes. So, whether that be a job loss, medical emergencies, any major unexpected expenses, they won't be putting you at risk of missing your mortgage payments or taking care of the things that are absolutely important for you to take care of. So I appreciate that you wanted to dig a little bit deeper because a lot of times we don't talk about emergency savings. We talk about a savings, but not emergency savings. So thank you, yeah, absolutely for asking that question, and really wanted to take a deep dive into the emergency fund conversation because many times those conversations are not being held. And so it's crucial for home buyers, and not even home buyers, but anyone, any adult home buyer and homeowner specifically, to have an emergency fund set up. Again, lenders like to see that you have reserves in case of unexpected expenses. Emergency funds can also cover unexpected costs. Even with careful planning, expenses like additional closing costs, moving costs, or repairs before moving can pop up, and those things you want to be prepared for. Having an emergency fund, it can protect you from financial stress. Again, we know that home buying can be unpredictable. Having extra savings to prevent financial strain if something unexpected happens, for example, a job change or any medical expenses. We want to make sure those emergency funds are set up. Even after buying a home, repairs and maintenance. Even new homes come with surprise expenses. A leaking water heater, roof repairs, or anything may come up. We understand that property taxes and insurance may change over the course of years. So if your taxes or insurance increase, you'll be prepared. And most importantly, for me, it is a cushion for life changes. Again, we talked about the job loss, any medical emergencies, or major unexpected expenses. They won't put you at risk of missing your mortgage payment, and or again from that financial stress.
Now,
So with
from a
Go
community
ahead.
standpoint, we know that when you're doing first time home ownership, there is no one to talk to in your family or your direct network that can tell you the odds and ends that you need to know to dot your I's and cross your T's, so to speak. So, talking about this is really necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Having these conversations, and these are conversations that we need to have within our homes first, right? And then within our communities. We start in our homes and we can bring them out into our communities. Um, However, I always think it's fair to say sometimes people just need some great financial advice. They need to seek professional advice, and they can seek um, financial coaching. We really have to get into a place where we want to increase our wealth. We want to increase our knowledge around wealth and the things that allow us to catapult us in the areas that we want to, want where we want to be in life. And so having these conversations are necessary.
I think that is very true. From a cultural standpoint, we know that we often talk about legacy and building wealth, like you just mentioned, but For a lot of us, long gone are the days of where we're able to pass down grandma's house to our children or to our relatives. And so some of us may be the ones that are going to be taking that journey for the first time for our families.
Yeah, and I can say I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the new opportunities, the journeys that we can embark on, right? And the things that we can do to put us in position to create these legacies, to create the generational wealth. However, Anna, I want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way, that we are doing it in a responsible way. And so again, being connected with professionals and or people who can have your best interests at heart, who understand where we're coming from as a community, and be able to put those things in place definitely will help first-time home buyers create a path, create a journey, create a roadmap to where they want to go.
Now we're going to transition gears again here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about market knowledge and the property search. Talk to me about what are the current market trends that specifically impact first-time home buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know current market trends are different depending on where you are. Market trends are different in the prospective areas that prospective buyers are looking to buy in. But however, overall, some of the trends that are affecting first time buyers are higher rates. So this impacts the affordability. So, within that, we explore different options. We talk about rate buy down and options if necessary. Inventory levels, we know that low inventory means competition is higher. So then this will require strategic offers. And this is where first-time home buyers could utilize their realtor to help navigate that process. Again, home prices. We track trends in their target area, again, to determine the fair market rate. And then we also look at the buyer assistance programs. First time buyers, grants, and incentives can provide financial relief.
Now, share with viewers, how do you manage expectations when presenting properties that may have limitations for first-time buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really important to educate buyers on what to expect for their budget. Um, for example, move-in ready versus a fixer-upper. Um, we want to just be able to talk through what that looks like for them and their specific situation and family needs. We talk about comparable sales, so we give a realistic idea of what homes in their price range looks like. We also encourage the buyers again to focus on the must-haves versus any cosmetic fixes that could be updated later.
How are you identifying properties that are well suited for first-time buyers in their desired locations and within their budgets?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So we actually use a combination of the MLS services. We do the alerts. We look at off-market properties and opportunities, and we have a network that helps find homes or identify homes that have not even hit the MLS yet within our team. We also help the buyers to understand like trade-offs. So location versus the size versus the home conditions. And then, of course, we're going to preview homes in advance to streamline the search to ensure that we are on track with looking or moving toward what they are desiring to have.
I think that's important to talk about the trade-off because I think sometimes we get our checklist together about we want to be close to work or close to our kids' schools, but we also want 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and it's like you can't have both sometimes. And we need to be
Yeah,
realistic about what that looks like.
do you really need it? Is that a necessity? Is, again, looking and thinking through, is this home going to be long term for you? Are you looking at maybe upgrading a year or two from now? So what can we do right now to get you in this home, to get your journey started? Definitely having those conversations.
How are you managing expectations when presenting properties that may have limitations for first time buyers?
Absolutely. So one of the ways that we do it, we talk about what to expect for their particular budget, their particular needs, what it looks like for them and their families. Example could be, move-in ready versus a fixer-upper. Are you willing to put in some additional work on your own, or, are you just totally dead set on moving into a move-in ready home? We also show comparable sales. This gives a realistic idea of what homes in their price range look like. And then we also encourage the buyers to focus on must-haves versus any cosmetic fixes that can be updated later.
The second to the last step in this process is negotiation and contract management. Talk to me about what your approach is negotiating offers on behalf of a first time buyer in a competitive market.
Absolutely. So yeah, we definitely want to advise the buyers on strong, but realistic offers. We're going to talk about considering the seller motivations. We're going to be using escalation clauses or the appraisal gaps strategies possibly, or even seller concessions when needed. So, we also just want to keep in mind that we have to move through the process. A lot of times people are like, oh, let me think about it, can we wait, while there are other people that are looking at this same property. And so while we want you all to make an informed decision and comfortable with your decision, it is definitely imperative that we go into negotiations as soon as applicable.
What are some of the ways you can explain the different contingencies in a purchase contract to a first time buyer?
Yeah. So some contingencies include the inspection contingency. This one protects the buyer from unforeseen major issues. We want to make sure that there is a time frame allotted to them to get the inspection, go over the inspection, and see if this is still the house that they want to move forward with. And then we talk through what that looks like. There's an appraisal contingency. This ensures that the home is actually worth the purchase price. With the financing contingency, this allows buyers to back out if they actually cannot secure a loan, which hopefully with by this time, this far in, we're hoping that that's never the case. Home sale contingency. And of course, if this is complicable, if the buyer needs to sell a home first in order to purchase this home.
I think this is why it's so paramount for people to work with a realtor while they're navigating this process. Share with us how are you able to navigate any impediments during the inspection process?
Yeah, so the goal is to guide the buyers through the report. We're going to be discussing any major versus minor issues. We're going to take time to negotiate repairs or any credits with the seller if needed. But then, helping the buyers decide when to walk away if the home presents major risk. So really being that support system for them. I tell people all the time, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to walk alongside you so that this is your journey. You know what's best for you. However, let's talk through it. Let's see what it looks like realistically for you for during this purchasing of your first home.
I think that's so important because we often are reading the words in front of us, but we may not fully understand. And I don't know about anybody else, but I function much better when I have all the facts in front of me to make the best decision to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we mentioned earlier about, I'm looking at our, I probably can't see it, but
I
this is
can.
something. Yeah, this is something that once we sit down with the buyer and we have that buyer consultation, this has from A to B, first to beginning, all the way from the sit down to discussing what your needs and wants are to even the terminology. So I provide this book, you'll have it with you, and then also just having the understanding, or for me, making sure that the client understands, listen, if there is something that you need to know you are not for sure about, call me. Create a list of questions for me so that if I don't have the answer, I can definitely I can get the answers for you. And so that's the goal. We're talking about partnering with people. We're talking about supporting people and helping people. And if we genuinely want to help, then we're going to take the time that it takes to help.
Lastly, we are talking about post-contract support. What support do you provide to first-time buyers once a contract is accepted, including communication with lenders, inspectors, and closing agents?
Yeah, so some of the things that I like to do, I like to help to, keep the financing on track. We are this is big for me, and I want to make sure that you are not spending. You did not go out and purchase a car. You did not you are understanding that everything right now we need to do, we have to halt some things so that we could continue to move forward. Um, we're going to be coordinate with the lender to keep financing on track. We're going to be scheduling inspections and appraisals. And when I say me, I really mean myself and my team. We're going to be reviewing reports together. And so that's going to be myself and the buyer. I'm going to be keeping the buyer updated through the process to ensure no surprises. We're going to get prepared for closing day. That's we really all we want to hear is that clear to close, and we're going to get those keys and we're ready for your new home. So we're going to be ensuring all the documents are in order. I'm going to be explaining the closing costs. So, with the help of the lender, I'm just going to be supporting because the lender is always going to break down those closing costs and the expectations for the buyer for the closing day. So, we talk about the breakdown of the typical costs that include the loan origination fees, title insurance, prepaid taxes and homeowners insurance, and escrow fees. And then we're also going to explore potential seller credits or down payment assistance programs. So we're going to keep those talks in the works until we actually move through the entire process.
Calandra, this has been such a helpful conversation, and I'm sure our viewers are actively writing down notes, and hopefully we'll play this a couple times over so that they can get a better grasp of all the information that's been shared. Please let our viewers know how to stay in contact with you if they have any questions or concerns.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here and share how I can be able to assist. Your viewers can reach me. I am on Facebook at Quilandra Hudgens. I am also on YouTube as Quilandra Hudgens, and I am also on Instagram as Quilandra underscore AZ underscore realtor.
Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this episode of Community Connections. Thank you for your time, your in-depth gems that you dropped throughout this episode, and for the information for people to stay connected to you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to working with the people.
Sadly, that is all the time that we have for today's episode of Community Connections. Make sure that you reach out to Calandra Hudgens and the team at the Libertas Real Estate Group to service your needs, as well as get that booklet that she showed us so that you can start to learn more about the terminology and all the intricacies of home ownership if this is your first time or if you plan on furthering your journey in the real estate industry. As always, I am Anna Orr. This has been Community Connections, airing right here on OROMIA11. I look forward to connecting again with you soon.